What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Diesel Creek. My name's Matt. Well, it finally happened. Got the old Fiat Allis 645B wheel loader hauled into the farm. Now, it was all kind of a last-minute hurried operation. I just got a call from the trucking company I deal with, and they said, hey, we can do it like right now. And I was like, okay. So I took off, and we got it loaded out and brought here to the farm. Pretty much uneventful. If you aren't familiar with this unit, there is a video I have linked down below in the description. All you really need to know about it is that this thing was sitting for like 15 years. There was trees growing up all through it and over it and everything. You couldn't hardly see it. It was sitting underneath a roof, but primitive at that. But basically, me and my buddy went out there and cut the trees down around it and played around a little bit, and we were able to get it fired up and drive it out of where it's been parked for 15 years. But then it sat there again outside for another 4 months, I think, until finally I get it hauled in here to the farm. Anyways, we got a laundry list of things to do to the Fiat today. I want to make this machine my reliable machine for around here at the farm. I want to be able to just hit the key, fire it up, and do what I need to do and know that it's going to start. It seems to be a fairly good machine. The only thing I noticed that's really wrong with it is the pivot pins and bushings in the middle where the machine articulates. I noticed that they have a little bit of slop in it, but for as much as I'm going to use this machine, those things should last my entire lifetime. Earlier in the spring, you guys saw me revive this Clark 125 loader, which is a 50,000 pound machine, and it's a beast, no doubt, but it's just too big for my applications. I'm down here in the woods. The ground stays kind of boggy. The thing is fine on hard ground, but for out here in the woods, it's just going to become stuck all the time. It's big, it's bulky, it's clunky, it doesn't fit between trees, stuff like that. This thing is actually the perfect size for what I do. This weighs 27,000 pounds, which is much more manageable. It's much more nimble, and it fills every need that I have. Also, these machines are very common in my area. I know where there's a whole bunch of these things, and parts should be relatively easy to get. Actually, I'm sad to say it, take my hat off, I know somebody's cutting one up right now. Cutting it up for scrap. So, yeah. As you can see, it's a bit wet out here today. We got some rain overnight, and now there's a puddle here. There wasn't water standing here whenever I parked the machine, but there is now. Of course, I don't want to work in the puddle all day, so we're going to go ahead and get this thing fired up. If you guys remember back when we revived this machine, there were no battery leads on this machine. Somebody had stolen all the copper leads off of all the equipment that was up where we got this thing. So all we did to get this thing running was have a couple batteries. When we revived it, we just threw a couple batteries up here and then used jumper cables and made a 24-volt system with my 3/0 jumper cables here. And that's basically all I did to get this thing fired back up and driven onto the lowboy and to where it's sitting right now. But I have everything with me today. We're going to make up a proper set of battery leads first of all, so we can get rid of all this mess hanging everywhere and I can get my jumper cables back. No. Well, I have some potentially bad news, and what a lovely surprise this is. I just lifted the lid on the battery box here, and like I said, these are brand new batteries I got. And this is my 3/0 jumper cables that I had. And of course this clamp was connected like this. And I had a chunk of wood sitting on top of the battery to keep that lid from pinching on the cable. Apparently sometime during my drive, the wood came dislodged. I don't see it anywhere. And it must have arced out to the... Oh man. So it fried the whole jumper cable. It melted that clean off. We're talking about a lot of angry pixies here. 24-volt DC power can do some stuff. I mean, you can weld with this battery connection. And look at that. These cables are just like this one here. It had a heavy wound spring that comes all the way out here as a strain relief on the cable, and it arced clear through that and melted the whole thing. That is my fault for not paying attention and probably not properly securing things with bungee cords. This was just a hack setup just to get me out of the woods, but Yeah, man, that sucks. That really sucks. I hope my batteries are good. That's what I'm really worried about. I can fix the jumper cables. That's not that big a deal. These clamps are only 20 bucks or something. But man, if these batteries, oh, I don't even want to think about it. Crossing my fingers that my batteries are still okay. Well, at least we have some good news here. I just turned the key on and I stripped this lead back. You guys hear the buzzer? The batteries apparently are still good, at least I think. They at least have some voltage to run the buzzer. So, yeah, that really sucks. Well, stupid is as stupid does. Let's see if I can't just use the clamp here, clamp this lead on here just to get this thing started and moved out of the mud hole so we can work on it and put some proper leads on this thing. Maybe that'll do. So before I go cranking this thing over, I do need to explain something for you guys that maybe forget from the first video on this machine or just joining us. Something is goofy in either the starter solenoid or the key switch on this machine. Whether it's wired wrong or what, I don't know. We're going to find that out today. But basically, to start this thing, what you have to do right now is turn the key switch on and then touch this contact right there, and then it will crank the machine over. Secondly, this machine, I think it's been ether trained, as they call it. It doesn't like to start without a little bit of squirt. So what I do here, well, it was staying before, I don't know what's going on now. Try to hold it wide open as it cranks, and that gets her going easier. Okay, I wedged a stick in there to hold the throttle at wide open. Let's go ahead and try to crank this thing up, see if we can't get it to fire. Should be ready to go, fingers crossed. Contact. I'm hoping it's maybe just dirty injectors, a combination of dirty injectors, filters. That's the reason it doesn't like to crank up cold, but I'm gonna go get the ether just so I can save the batteries. I need to make sure I can get it out of this mud hole. Yep, she's ether trained. All right, I managed to find a fairly dry spot over here. I'm told that this is actually 99% Allis Chalmers made, and Fiat just slapped their name on it. Now the later Fiat loaders, I guess, were actually Fiat designed, but this one here is the Allis variety, which I think is good. I think that's the better one. That's what you want. So I don't know a ton about it, other than they're fairly common, so they must be halfway decent. Let's get my janky temporary leads off of here before we melt something else down. That's what you get for stupid. Paying your stupid tax, as somebody once told me. This is my stupid tax. Still ripping vines off of this thing from where it was parked for 15 years. Grown completely through the battery box. Still a couple more up here that are nice and charred now thanks to that electrical fire. Did a little shopping on Amazonia the other day. Got me, I got fancy, got this set of actual crimpers for copper terminals. So that'll be nice. Got a bunch of 1/0 there. Got some nice heavy duty brass terminal clamps. And of course, copper lugs. Let's make us up a set of battery leads here. Also, I know I'm probably going to catch a bunch of crap from you guys for shopping on Amazon. Seems like half the people always attack me for that, and the other half say, yep, that's the only economical place to shop anymore. And just so you know, I did spring for the made in USA wire, because nothing worse than crappy wire. But like battery terminals, I can't even find a set anywhere online, not just Amazon. And I try locally at stores like Napa. All these battery terminals are all made overseas. I can't find any made in America. If you guys know of some, please send them my way. That is some nice battery cable, and it wasn't terribly expensive. All right, I've never used any of these fancy hand crimpers before. I have used some big hydraulic ones when I worked in a transformer factory for a while. But I'm sure we're setting the bar high here, because the very first connector I'm going to do with it is bigger than it's made for. So, yeah, you can see how she goes here. Well, it crimped it very easily. Look at that. It's a little misshapen because the terminal was too big for the crimper, but I think I'm going to do it a couple more times, some different angles, and it's already crimped on there quite strong. Well, it's not a factory looking crimp, but it is effective. All right, let's bolt this onto the starter. Forgot to bring my big cutters out to do this bigger cable. These linesmen are going to have to work. Oh yeah. So the last cable we need to install now is what I was always told was called an interconnect cable, and this is what jumps the two 12-volt batteries in series and makes them 24 volts. All right, skin that back and put a terminal on it. All right, get that terminal down all the way. These battery box lids here, they're on a piano hinge, and they're a little stiff. So I'm gonna hit them with some silicroyl real quick. Oh yeah. Night and day difference. Well, I guess this is the moment of truth. I'm gonna go ahead and hit the key and see if this thing is wired up correctly. Hopefully I didn't do it wrong. Contact. We wired it correctly. What do you know? Every once in a while I impress myself, huh? Alright, so the next thing we need to figure out is the key switch here. We need to probably just pull it out and test it and see if the key switch is hanging up or if it is wired incorrectly. But before I can even dive into the dashboard, my OCD is driving me nuts. I gotta do something about this cab. As you can see, I have a bag over the seat right now, and that's because raccoons or some sort of critter completely ate all the foam off the chair. Yeah, the seats seen better days. I mean, there's just nastiness all over the place in here, so I'm gonna sort through it a little bit, make sure there's nothing good in here that we're gonna lose, and then blow everything out with the leaf blower. Yeah. See if we can find some treasures in here. Oh, there's a can of ether, empty, of course. Piece of window trim, might still need that to put the plexiglass black in the doors. Hang on to that. A lovely glove. Ooh, screwdriver. Got a lovely curve to it. It's for getting into those hard to reach places. See, over on this side we've got another can of starting fluid, also empty. This guy. Ooh, that looks like a knob off of something. Cable clamp. Oil pressure switch. Ugh. I still got to do a better job. I'll have to come back in here with the shop vac, but swept out behind the chair, and look how much crap we got. There's a mountain in here. Get it thrown away here. Well, I think that looks quite a bit better, huh? That is nice. I tried looking up these kind of seats to see if I could find one, and they are astronomically expensive on like eBay or anything. So that's astronomically expensive aftermarket. I can only fathom what they would be if I called up a dealer and wanted a replacement seat for something like this. Not to mention, previous owner kind of butchered the mount here. You know, they got like a oak wedge in here to shim the seat up, and you can see they got it torched off the back of the whatever used to be here. So I have no idea what that used to look like, but now it looks like this. I guess it's time to get in here and rip this dash out, see if we can see what's going on with that key switch. Also, while we're in here, we're going to see if we got power to any of these switches here. I imagine one of these, or both of these, used to be for the lights on the outside of the machine, and they look pretty crappy. So I got some new LEDs somebody sent me we're going to install on here and see how that goes. Apparently this U-bolt also holds the dash in. Lovely. Well, I think I have everything figured out here. I have not tested anything with the meter yet, but just looking at the back of the switch here, you got 4 posts. This one says battery. I can't tell what this one says. I think it says ignition. And then this one says ST, which I'm betting is start. And then this one says accessory. So there's nothing connected to the start post. So that's your off position right there. Now right here should be your ignition spot. That's what throws power to like your fuel shutoff solenoid and everything. And then when you go to this position, the cranking position, that's that start position. And what it was doing before, if you had that wire that I was touching on the starter there, if you had that wire connected and you went from the off position to the on position, before you would even get to the crank position, the starter would engage. So what they did here was they have one of these 3 wires on the ignition post. It's supposed to be over here on the start post, and they just wired it wrong. Back here on our starter solenoid, this wire here, I put some heat shrink on it because there was a couple broken spots in the coating, but the wire is still just fine. Anyway, this one was what was disconnected right here to this post, and I was having to touch it right there to engage the starter. So I've connected it back the way it's supposed to be, and hopefully we can just reconfigure the key switch here and get it to work. Alright, so let's play a game of which one is the one that starts this machine. I'm betting it's the green one. You guys ready to see if I'm right? Oh, I'm not right. That's depressing. What about the purple? Anybody got purple?
Well, no, I was right about purple. That's the one that's engaging our fuel pump and the fuel shutoff solenoid. I can hear them clicking. I doubt if you guys can. So anyway, purple has to go back to the ignition side. That leaves yellow. Anybody got yellow? That's running a fuel pump. Why is... What is missing here? Don't worry, it's just me. I'm dumb. I forgot to engage the neutral safety switch. Without the neutral being engaged, the machine will not crank. Now, let's see if I was right. Ready? Contact. Still wrong. Foiled again. Ooh. Now the purple one's wanting to do the jumping. Okay, well, we'll run with that then. I don't know what green does. Green doesn't appear to do anything. I'll have to trace that wire out. I think it's just going up here to gauges or headlights or something. Get this bad boy hooked up properly, and hopefully we'll be able to start this machine from the seat. That would be nice and safe. Get a little leery every time I start this thing, even though it has that neutral safety. I get a little leery leaning up against the tire and cranking that starter. You guys ready to test it? Contact. What? Oh. Alright, well the keys... Now ain't that funny? It's doing the same thing. I think this key switch is also messed up. That's probably why they had everything set up the way they did. Yeah, see, it's like in between positions there where it's engaging. Yeah, we better replace this key switch. I don't trust it. It's a shame, it's made in the USA, but he's no bueno anymore. I'm gonna go ahead and buy a Caterpillar key switch to swap out for this. That way it's just easier. I have so much equipment and I carry a cat key. That way I don't have to carry 25 keys. Cat key can do just about everything out here. I have several other things already switched out for cat keys. Why not this one? Well, can't move any further with the electrical until we have a proper key switch, but we can knock this seat off of here and work on getting the new one to fit it. Now, I'm sure there's going to be some comments like, oh, you should just reupholster this seat since it's original. First of all, I'm not trying to restore this machine. I'm trying to do this as cheap as possible. But the seat pan is pretty well toast. I mean, it's all rusted and cracked and broken. It's just junk. Time to throw that one in the scrap heap. All right, so I've been spending a good bit of time up here behind the dash, rooting through the mess of wires that so often happens on machines this age. You know, you just have 10,000 cooks in the kitchen over the years, and everybody does their own little bit of seasoning to the broth, and then somebody like me has to come along and just cut it all out and start from nothing, because half the time, half the wires don't even go to anything anymore. Half of them are spliced together into themselves 5 times over. It's just a mess. So that takes a long time. Here's the replacement seat I have. Long-time subscribers of the channel will actually know where this seat came from. That came off of an industrial cart I had. It was a diesel motor wreck industrial cart, and I actually stole the engine off the industrial cart for the vibratory roller I have. But that seat should bolt right in. I ended up pulling a skid loader over here because there's just no place to stand or work on this thing. I mean, you're like hanging off the side of the machine to do anything. So use a pallet here. I can function a little bit. I can actually stand up here and work like a human now. All right, so oftentimes I'm out here unloading stuff in the dark. I just did it last night actually, and it's quite a pain in the butt if you don't have good headlights. The Bobcat lights here, that's what I was using at the time. They don't work. I don't know, they haven't worked for years. I need to rip the whole system apart. But anywho, about this machine, these crappy old halogen bulbs are what was on here, and they are decent light fixtures. They're truck light brand, but they don't work. I think these are probably made for 12 volt, and that's why. The headlights in this machine are wired for 24 volt. I did try them, I tested them out, I can't make them work. I've got voltage right up to the light, ground's good, I don't know. Not worried about it because Prime Lux sent me some awesome LED lights here, and these things should really shed some light on the situation. I tested one out in the garage on the battery, and they are just crazy bright. So they're roughly the same size, and they should be perfect for this application. A lot of these LED lights that everybody's selling these days on Amazon, eBay, wherever you're getting them from, a lot of them are pretty cheaply made, and these ones seem like they're pretty darn tough. This is all a big cast aluminum housing here on the back. I mean, it's got some mass to it. But anyway, I looked it up. These things are rated for 24 volt input, actually up to 30 volt input, so that should be just fine for us. Got a nice long weatherproof pigtail on here. We should be good to go. Knock these old ones off and mount this bad boy and see what this looks like. I put them on a slight angle outwards because most of the LED lights I've messed with, they're so bright that you can angle them a little bit and get a lot wider field of view out of it, whereas you point two lights like we're going to do straight ahead, it's just super bright in front of you and you don't get that much off the side. So just like 10 degrees maybe skewed out to the outsides, and that'll give you a lot more of a flood effect on the edges. Plus I think these lights are already pretty wide angle, so yeah, should be really awesome at nighttime. Now it's gonna look like I'm connecting these things backwards, but trust me, I know the wiring circuit here. I'm using what used to be a hot as a ground now. I've disconnected it from where it used to get power, and now it's ground because there used to be two lights mounted here, but with LEDs you probably don't need them. And this guy here is the hot. So red to dark blue and black to red. Now before we bother heat shrink and everything, let's go ahead and test this light out and see if it comes on. Moment of truth here. Oh yeah! Boy, that thing's bright. I can actually feel the heat coming off of that thing clear over here. We'll get the other one wired in, and we'll have to come back at nighttime and try these things out when we're done. I'm betting these are gonna be sweet. Well, we got the heat shrink and everything all shrunk on the lights there, and until I get my key switch, that wraps up the electrical I can do. Right now I got the welder fired up and I've got some angle iron here. I'm gonna go ahead and weld this on like so here. I'll put one of these on each side, and then at the end of it is going to receive this flat bar, and that will engage our seat latches here. Yeah, look at that. It works. Good enough for me. Let's buzz it in. All right, the seat bracket's all finished up. Hopefully I can get the seat to just drop down in the bolt holes. They're really close, but they're not quite right. So hopefully everything just kind of wiggles into place. It fits, and if it fits, it ships. All right, let's try this thing out. Hey, I'm being completely honest with myself. It's not the most comfortable chair in the world, but it is better than the raccoon torn up one that we had. I don't know, might grow on me, or maybe in the future we'll get a better one. Depends on how this loader hangs in there. I really haven't run it enough to know that nothing major is going to go wrong with it here, you know, in the first 10 hours. So I'm not going to go spend several $100s on a new seat just to have it go. But it feels pretty decent. I mean, it's not terrible. Now we can take care of our entry point here. The ladder, as you can see, has seen some better days. She's a little bit busted. She's a little bit rusted. But we're going to straighten her right out. I think we can kind of just line this thing up good enough to weld it, and that'll help straightening the ladder. We can get that bracket welded on one side, and then we'll hook a chain to this ladder rung and try and straighten her back out, and hopefully things straighten out, and then we'll just re-weld everything, and hopefully those bolts don't snap off there. But yeah, I don't think it'll be too bad. I don't expect it to come out perfect, but anything's better than flopping in the breeze. All right, we'll see how this goes. It needs to bend right in this area. That's why I've secured this side so it won't affect up here. Hopefully it just bends down here. Ooh. Things are happening. I can't get any more leverage out of it to bend it the rest of the way, and I don't really trust these straps to go yarding on it with a machine or something, so I guess I'm gonna pop the straps off and switch everything out for chain, do it a little bit more safe, and hopefully be able to get that last bit of bend out of it. Woo. Well, it ain't perfect, but it's perfect for what we're doing. Well, I had a second wind and I played around and got it a bit straighter. This bracket down here needs taken off and straightened up, but I don't know that we're going to get into all that right now. Ladder's still much more sturdy compared to what it was, and yeah, you can actually get in the cab on a straight line now, so that's pretty good. All right, well, it's actually the next day, and I just got the new GoPro Hero 10. Me and the 9 had a love-hate relationship. This is the very first thing I'm filming on this camera, so we'll have to see how this goes. The touchscreen is like way more gooder than the 9 was, so that's a welcome improvement. Anyways, we got our seat in place yesterday. We got the ladder straightened out, but this door needs some love. Right. Well, I mean, if you stand back here, I mean, like way back here, I mean, that thing looks nice. I think that's just what we needed. In all seriousness, I'm not going to spend too much time on that door. Maybe at some point in the future, but right now I just wanted it to shut a little bit better. All right, my next mission here is I want to do a complete service on this machine. This is still the oil in it from it's sitting for all those years. I just got it running and put it on a truck and brought it home. So I pulled the filters just to get the numbers off of them yesterday. And the air filters here, they don't look terrible, but I like when I get a machine now to just put all new stuff in it, and then I don't have to think, oh, how much life is left in this filter. The inner filter here should never ever get dirty, and at some point this one got dirty. Even the inside of the pleats look a little Now part of that I think could be moisture hanging around, especially when something like this sits, the moisture gets to these paper elements and kind of turns them colors, but I don't know, we're not going to take any chances. Get rid of those, and got a fuel filter. I already put an inline filter in this thing to get it home because it died in the middle of the road, like I said. Yeah, let's go ahead. We'll pull the fuel filter first, put the new one on, prime the system, put the new air filters in, and then we'll try to start it and see if that helps us start this thing any easier. Remember at the beginning of the video, this thing took quite a while to crank up and get going. So I'm thinking it could be a combination of poor fuel delivery via the filter and poor air delivery via the other filters. I already cheated and broke these filters loose yesterday so I could try to get the numbers off of them. I got me one of those fancy strap wrenches that goes on a ratchet. I tell you what, that thing's the best thing I've ever had for pulling filters. That was nice, and I needed it too because this fuel filter was stuck on there big time. I don't think it's been off in a heck of a long time. I already dumped out some of this fuel yesterday trying to get the numbers off of here, because as you can see, it's kind of hard to read. The number's actually right there. It's a 33400 Wix filter. Anyway, do you guys see how black and disgusting this fuel is? I think that filter could have been causing us some grief. What do you guys think? There's just like sludge coming out of it. Ugh. That's good for your fuel system. Well, unfortunately, this machine doesn't have an hour meter on it, so I have no way of knowing how many are on it. Plus, I have no way to put it on the filters. All I can do is write the date on it and hope I can mentally kind of keep track of how much I run the thing. And we have an electric inline fuel pump here, so I'm not going to worry about pre-filling the filter either. Let the pump do the work for us. I'll just crack this bleeder up here and let it purge itself. I haven't run this thing maybe more than 10-15 minutes on that new inline filter, and it must already be pretty well packed because this pump should have filled up this filter by now. This thing, man, once we clean this fuel system out, this thing's probably going to run great. I'm going to go ahead and kill the pump, and I think we're going to change that inline filter one more time. Alright, my conscience got the better of me. I'm going to go ahead and drain at least the bottom of this tank off. The machine hasn't moved in almost 3 days, so hopefully all the dirt is settled out of the tank. We'll pull the drain plug here, and we'll just kind of watch the color of the fuel. If it clears up, you know, this stuff's very expensive. You hate to waste any of it, so we'll just kind of watch it. If it gets clear, we'll stop, put the plug back in, and go from there. But you're either replacing a bunch of filters or you're wasting diesel fuel, so pick your battles. This is less labor intensive, at least. Do it once. There we go. I even found a clear jug so you guys can see what's going on here, hopefully. And a nice light down here. Check this thing out. Some of you guys know that I've actually kind of become an Olight fanboy. But they've never actually had a real work light before. This thing is super nice. This is actually my new favorite work light. It's got this little hook deal. You can hang it on stuff. It's got pretty good magnets on there. Can swivel it all over the place so you get good angles of coverage. You got a couple different brightness levels here and here. This thing's great. All rechargeable USB. Charge it in the car. I like it. I gotta get another one, I think. I just feel like this is gonna be a mess very quickly. Oh, there's some. Oh, look it. The tank is so nasty at the bottom that it's not even running out. I know there's a bunch of fuel in here. Oh man. I don't want to poke it. I know what's gonna happen. I know what's gonna happen here. Oh, yep. Ooh. You know what? I forgot to crack the fuel cap loose. That would help. That's good looking fuel, eh? You guys see how black it is? This is horrendous. Oh, right down the arm. Thinking the fuel cap vent might be clogged too, because there was still a pretty good suction on it when I just cracked the cap loose. That could also be giving us fuel system issues. Let's play a game called How Good's My Aim? Look at that. With the plug almost out, it's just sitting here dripping off straight water. There we go, we got some fuel now. Still a little dark, but doesn't look too bad now. I'm hoping we got the bulk of the dirt. I'm just gonna change that little inline filter and we're gonna let it eat. Well, just to see how much crap is really in that fuel, we're gonna go ahead and run it through a paint filter, which has a really fine mesh screen in it. It wasn't too bad until the end there. All the junk had settled to the bottom, but the funnel is still holding the fuel. That's how clogged it got. We'll let that drip out for a minute and then I'll show you what's left in the screen. Oh, there's what's left in the funnel. That is nasty. I'm sure a lot of this dirt was the first a couple initial like clumps that came out of the tank whenever I pulled the plug and nothing came out. I'm sure that's what the bulk of this is from, but it's still a lot of dirt. And that's exactly what happens to the fuel filter, is it plugs all the filter media and doesn't let the fuel through. Alright, well I actually just pulled the fuel line apart and flow tested that inline filter, and it is still flowing fuel plenty good enough for what we're doing. So I'm wondering if there's something clogging the pump. I'm going to go ahead and disassemble the pump and see if we can see any blockages. Oop. Oh, I just ripped something. Some sort of diaphragm or something. I just ripped it. Son of a diddly. Well, I'm betting we did more harm than good on that exploratory mission. I don't think there's anything wrong with the pump. Everything looks really clean inside. And now clean and broken. Well, I'm pretty sure I broke it. I didn't feel any suction on the end of the line, but I did just reconnect it, and it's worth a shot. We'll just fire it up, see if it does anything. It should change sounds, and I still got the bleeder open, so if it's pushing fuel, we should see it. Oh, look at that, it is working. Yeah, baby, that's what I'm talking about. Oh yeah, I can't believe the thing still works. I just got really lucky again. Nice new outer filter as well. Oh yeah, she's gonna be breathing easy these days. I got the air filters in, the new fuel filter in. It seems to be making plenty of fuel pressure. I want to get the engine nice and hot now. We're going to fire it up, try to get it to operating temperature so we can change the oil. The reason I do that is because if the oil is nice and hot, it will drain more of the crud out of the oil pan. Contact! Well, it sure didn't seem to start any easier, but I guess this time that could be because we had some air in the system. I mean, I did bleed it pretty thoroughly. I cracked it at the injector pump too. I just didn't show you guys. And still had to crank and crank. So I'm thinking probably just dirty injectors from running crappy fuel for so long. So yeah. So in the very first video of the loader too, both this one and the Cat 977, I said that they were in a former junkyard. Now, some people misconstrued that and they thought that they were taken into the junkyard as scrap and just sitting around, and then I came and saved them. That wasn't the case. Those machines were in the scrap yard to work. They were used for picking up vehicles and moving who knows what, and that's why this thing was there. So it was operational when the junkyard was operational. So we didn't do any crazy miracles. All right, well, this thing's probably been sitting here idling for about 20 minutes or a half an hour now. It's definitely up to operating temperature. I didn't have the Lucas injector cleaner with me. I thought I did, but I had some diesel stable, which is also a fuel system cleaner. So I put a good bit of that in there, and it actually seems to have cleaned up pretty good. At idle here, you can still see it's smoking a little bit and got just a little bit of a mist to it. But watch when I rev it, it actually clears up pretty good. It runs nice and smooth. It had kind of like a little blip in the throttle before too. When you'd rev it, it would kind of just sputter just a little. That seems to be gone, so take a look. Anyways, that's definitely an improvement. I'm thinking the more we run this thing, the better it's gonna run. I also checked the blow-by over here. It really doesn't seem to have that bad a blow-by. Part of that could be from sitting so long, the rings are still kind of stuck. It has maybe an hour, 2 hours at the most run time on it since we got it running back in video 1. Anyways, it's good and hot now. Let's go ahead and change this oil. So there's our oil drain. I already tapped the socket onto the square plug there. What I noticed here is somebody actually bent the oil pan right around the nozzle, right around this pipe coming out. And they kind of bent it on an upward angle. I'm hoping everything still drains out of it like it is. It's kind of, I don't know how you could bend that. Huh. Ready? Bit of splatter, but not too bad. There we go. She calmed right down after a second. Oh, more spatter. The oil looks good. I mean, it's black, but it doesn't show signs of water or chunkage or silver streaks, so can't be too bad. Now earlier when I said these machines were used in a junkyard, I didn't mention I used to work in a junkyard, and we had similar type of machinery in similar type of condition, and it looks like it was maintained about the same way too. And let me tell you, when you work in a junkyard, or at least the type of junkyard I worked in, you don't buy fuel for nothing. You siphon and drain fuel out of everything that comes into the junkyard, and that's what runs in all your equipment and yard vehicles. So it's no wonder the fuel system in this thing is just a mess. Hard to see because the oil is so clear, but it's just slightly over full, which should be just about right when we start it, and that'll top off all our oil filters and oil passages and whatnot. All right, this should be one of the hydraulic filters in this housing here, and unfortunately I got to pull it just to get the number off of it to order it up. But anyway, there's a drain plug on the bottom here, drain the filter housing, and then these 4 bolts will drop this down and we should be able to pull the filter. That ain't good. What you guys can't see is the end of this plug. It's covered in metal shavings. It looks like never sees, that's how much there is. And a machine this old and this big, that's probably somewhat normal. There was way more in the transmission of the Cat 977 we worked on the channel, and everybody said, oh, don't worry about that, that's normal. And I don't know, I guess they're right, because I've run that machine quite a bit since then, and it hasn't missed a beat. In fact, it's up at my buddy's place right now. He's clearing some property with it, and it's been running good for him. No issues, knock on wood. Oh, there's all the fluid that's been hiding from us. Whew. You know, it's not the greatest. You can definitely see a silvery sheen in the oil. Oh. Well, the filter element isn't just jam-packed with it, so that's a good sign, I guess. Next up on our laundry list of filters to change, we got a crusty old coolant filter there we're going to swap out. If the coolant didn't look so clean, I would suggest that we go ahead and just flush the coolant system while we're at it, but coolant is actually looking really nice. It's got a really nice green color to it. I can see through it. Doesn't look like there's a lot of junk sitting in the radiator or anything like that, so I don't see any reason to flush it. So the reason we would change a coolant filter are twofold. A, obviously it's a filter. It filters out contaminants in there, but B, it's also this conditioner, which this thing has additives in it that help your cooling system. Now, I don't claim to be any kind of expert at this. I just know that additives in the coolant filters like this help prevent cavitation from eating holes in your liners, something along those lines. So I know it's always a good idea to go ahead and replace these things if you don't know the history. Oh yeah, baby. You know what? I wasn't thinking about this. I have a pan underneath of us, but we're gonna lose a bit of coolant when we do this. I gotta be quick on the draw here. As soon as I pop this one off, I gotta hurry up and throw the new one on. Here we go. I just impressed myself. I really didn't lose all that much. Couple cups at best. Not too bad. So I got our hydraulic filter now. Yummy. I'm going to clean out this housing too because it's still got some silver streakage in the bottom. New filter going in. Very last filter we have to do today is the in-tank filter directly underneath of this cover. Interesting. Let that sit there and drain a second. Got us a nice fancy new one right here. Good news! The key switch finally came in. We can get that piece of crap out of there and button up the dashboard. I tell you what, this thing did not feel weak by any means before, but that filter must have been clogged up because this thing feels strong now. I mean, like real strong. You can just feel it when you're driving it. The engine runs a lot smoother. It revs up quicker, got more power. Kind of like snappy, like it's got the throttle response now that it didn't have before. Let's go pick something up.
Now for my favorite part. Darkness is finally upon us. Time to test out these sweet new LED lights we put in. Guys ready? I already saw them. I know they're bright. Bam! How you like that? These things are super bright. You can see everything out in front of you now. Whew. Let's take this baby for a night drive. Well, everything was going really good until I just blew a hydraulic line, so I think this video is getting long enough. You know what a bear hydraulic lines can be. So in part 2 of fixing up the loader here, we're going to be going through all 4 final drives, plus both pumpkins on the axles. And of course we're going to be changing this hydraulic line that just blew. It doesn't look like it's going to be any fun. I think we're also going to be troubleshooting some more electrical. The alternator was working when we revived this thing over at that junkyard, but now it doesn't seem like it's charging the system, so we're going to have to look into that. Anyways, the old girl's going to have to sleep right here tonight on account of that blowed line. If you haven't already, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button. It really helps the channel out and doesn't cost you guys a thing. If you're looking for any sweet Diesel Creek merchandise, don't forget you can head over to the store at dieselcreek.com, pick you up a t-shirt, sticker, hat, mug, whatever you're feeling. And of course, if you're not already, make sure you're subscribed so I can catch you on the next video. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys later.